Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/WiseGuyRadio. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's at www.audibletrial.com, AUDIBLETRIAL.com/WiseGuyRadio. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 49. This is Jay Michael, your host, and I am excited to be here today with you guys. I'm nursing a bit of a hangover after our long night, fun jam night at the new Clearwater Jazz Holiday Festival. And we had a good time shaking our ass and living life to the fullest. And I don't know if you guys saw me posted on Instagram, but I was continuing to mention how the show that we went to for the entire day only cost us $15 a piece. And these are the kind of simple things you guys can do in life that are very affordable, that will let you get out of the studio and shake your ass and go have some fun and blow off some steam and not get stuck in the rut of being in your cave all day. It's very important to get out and go see people and not get stuck. Because I know for years and years and years of being in my studio away from people, I started to have issues with social anxiety disorder and all kind of dumb shit. That was all because I never left my studio. And it's so important to have human interaction besides the fact of getting out of the shop. So just wanted to put that out there in a little side note. Today's episode is a quick one. It's going to be Shane and I from Glass Knowledge talking about the technique called Inside Out. The origins of it, the technique, how it's done, kind of some ideas that we have, and why we think the term double blown has been used so prevalently in our industry for so many years. As part of my goal with the show is to eradicate that term. So if you guys continue to use that term, please stop and tell anybody you hear say it that it is a horseshit, bullshit, cow shit term. Does not exist. No such thing. So, yeah. Coming up tomorrow, or actually our next episode, will be episode 50. In celebration of that, I brought on a glass artist named Josh Bailey. Him and I have a great chemistry, great rapport. We chit-chat here and there, and this episode is around 3 hours long. He's been in the industry for a little bit less than myself, but him and I had a lot to talk about and a lot to say. And some pretty funny stuff we covered. It's kind of interesting to listen back to the show and kind of some of the stuff we talked about. I was like, I can't even believe I'm putting this out there, but I hope you guys will enjoy that. But as far as today goes, it is our segment with Shane at Glass Knowledge on Instagram. And you guys can go follow his page again on Instagram. It is at Glass Knowledge, and he will give you all the insights and terms and tips and artists and stuff that he's into and kind of some background history on the world of glass art, especially the functional scene. Don't forget, guys, to go to wiseguyradio.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date on our show, and also all that kind of fun stuff, PDF downloads, all that kind of jazz. We're still getting our calendar plugin put together, but if you have any info out there in shows that you're doing, whether it's a functional art show or it's just a regular fine art show or a gallery opening or a demonstration or a sale you're even having, give us a heads up, especially with Black Friday coming up soon. If any guys out there that are doing Black Friday sales, definitely hit me up and we'll put that out there for you. And we'll get links to your Instagrams if you're using your Instagram to put it on there. Anything you can think of, the ways to market your work. Yep, so there you guys go. Another windy, beautiful day in Florida. And I'm going to get my ass outside and enjoy it. So you guys enjoy this episode. Please feel free to contact me at info@wiseguyradio.com. And again, if you guys feel anything we talk about here on the Glass Knowledge page that is incorrect or could be actually added to and expounded upon, feel free to contact myself at my email, or you can also leave a message with Shane on his Instagram page, which is, again, at Glass Knowledge. Much love, everybody. You guys enjoy this day, and I will see you in episode number 50. Love you guys. Peace.
Now it's time to share some glass knowledge with your host, Jay Michael, and the creator of At Glass Knowledge on Instagram, Shane Penn.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Glass Knowledge segment of the Wise Guy Radio Show with my buddy Shane here, who runs the Glass Knowledge page on Instagram, which is at Glass Knowledge, and we are now back from a short little break, and we're all settled in and moved and whatever else, and now we're ready to bring you guys more information and glass knowledge. So what's going on, Shane?
Not much, man. Just enjoying my new living room in my new home. Feels good to finally be settled in.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. So today's topic is going to be on inside-out glass and the origins and kind of some fun little insights to it that we've come up with. And again, as always, anybody out there that has any other information they want to share with us or things that we mention that are incorrect in a sense, if you want to definitely respond to us, whether you can hit me up at info@wiseguyradio.com or also hit up Shane on his Instagram page, and unless you want him at Glass Knowledge. Yeah, okay. And you can comment under the actual post that he did already on the Inside Out page there.
Yep,
so.
Or just send us a direct message as well if you feel like you don't want to start things out there with people. If you want to just be direct, we're always open to hearing information or even suggesting new artists, anything from anyone. So yeah, feel free to shoot us a DM at any time.
Heck yeah. Yeah, so the Inside Out process is something I enjoy. I haven't done it in a long time, but the amazing amount of work that can be done inside a tube of glass, and also the fact that you make the glass really thick when you're doing the process really makes for a nice, durable, structurally sound, spoon or pipe or bubbler or whatever it is you're making. So,
yeah.
But before we get kind of sidetracked here, let's go ahead and kind of get into the brief history of it and kind of our definition that we have written out here. And
yeah, let's start off defining what inside out refers to, and I think it can first start off as. Actually, no, you have the better definition here. Why am I even trying to come? You wrote this down. Let's hear what it is.
Yeah, well, I have the process of encasing a glass pattern that has been created inside a tube of glass, and basically the idea is that the pattern that you're creating, whether you're using stringers, which is glass rods that have been stretched out into a thinner, manageable diameter and length, basically skinny enough to where you can use it to draw with, but you actually lay down inside the tube. And then when you shrink it all down, the clear actually encases itself around the color pattern, which then makes it look three-dimensional, kind of raised up inside the wall of the pipe or whatever vessel that is you're making. Kind of the idea.
For the people out there who are a little confused or I don't know what we're talking about, or if you're trying to get that image in your head, inside out is, it really shines with that really thick layer of clear, and that you can see almost three-dimensional tubes of color because the color has been sucked into that clear and it's encased around it. So you see a lot of different patterns of just different cane work being done on the inside. Now it's called inside out because unlike stringer, or unlike the stringer styles or more the wrap and rake styles that are on the exterior, on the outside of the pieces, all the color is coming from within. So for those, that's what we're defining here. That's kind of what we're talking about, and that's the process we're going to be discussing.
Heck yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of cool, man. This is one of those things that when I first started blowing glass back in '99, it was something that was new to me, and I first saw a couple inside-out spoons that were out there that were on, I guess, Fish Tour or whatever, and a friend of mine had gotten. And I saw it, and I was like, what the fuck is that? The pattern, the color, everything was just completely mind-blowing, but also the fact that it was mostly color-changing, which I didn't understand at the time because I was very brand new into it. So, I'm seeing this transition of the color-changing properties going from the bowl of the spoon down to the mouthpiece, but it was still, all these little squiggly lines and cool patterns and just kind of random madness, and it was actually a shape of, a potato kind of looking thing. But, but it was gorgeous, and I was just completely mind blown by how in the hell was this done, and then experimenting and stuff. I eventually figured it out, but it took a friend of mine to tell me one little secret trick at the time, I guess as a secret if you want to call it, to keep myself from burning my hand, because I kept burning my hands because my tube was getting hot, because you have to inject your flame down inside the tube to be able to get your glass hot enough to lay it down inside the glass. And because I didn't create a vacuum in my blowpipe per se, I kept having the heat just go right out my tube.
Oh, so it's just going right down the end. So instead of slowly transferring up the tube like you want it to, it was just burning the fuck out of you.
Yeah, and especially being in Florida where it's 10,000% humidity, It makes it even worse because then you got the moisture builds up, and the moisture always seems to build up where you're holding the blowpipe because of the warmth of your hand as well. And so like steam burns and moisture burns are even worse than a lot of other things you deal with. It's like dumping out a hot boiling pot of water and you get scalded from the steam.
That's not fun. That's painful.
No, but the trick was to plug up that opening of the blowpipe just by getting a wet piece of paper or tissue or whatever. Nowadays, I use a earplug, little kind of styrofoamy, rubbery earplugs.
That's smart.
Yeah, it expands because you can roll it down real skinny, and then it expands up and fills the.
So it's a perfect feel every time.
Yep, exactly.
All right, you hear that out there, glass blowers? You need a good plug. Get an earplug.
Yeah, the old orange construction styles. Yeah, it's good stuff. So to kind of digress to the concepts here. So yeah, again, kind of early '90s, mid '90s when this whole glass scene really started going. We started seeing, the basic production spoon at the time, or product-wise, was your color changer, kind of wrap and rake, generic spoons, and then
just the stringer color on the outside melted in and like flattened out, or just burned in, so it's all smooth.
Yeah.
It was, it was quick, simple, and easy.
Yeah. And then we all of a sudden had the influx of the import pipe, and their imports were all wrap and rake spoons. So we had to evolve to not only compete with the market, but also to kind of evolve and learn a new product that the shops would want to pick up that wasn't your standard wrap and rake spoon that they were paying $1 or 50 cents for from some guy from India.
Well, absolutely. And I think, with any sort of, especially like artistic movement, like it comes in a wave, and at the time, like the wrap and rake was on the bottom of the wave, and like if you don't stay ahead of it, like you fail as an artist, especially back in the 90s where it was so competitive and it was still very secretive. And these techniques are what were going to make you your bread on their table every day. So it was hard to learn from others. As not everyone was a Bob Snodgrass who's going around telling everyone their little secrets right away.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember like when I was saying before with the burning my hand, I asked a couple guys locally here, like, hey, what am I doing wrong? And they're like, I'm not going to tell you. You got it kind of there. You're almost there, but I'm not going to tell you because then you become competition in a sense without saying that, And I understood, business is business, but it was pretty cool when a buddy of mine was like, hey, just do this.
Yeah. Like, it's whatever. If you're afraid of competition enough where you're not willing to help someone not injure themselves on a torch, like, step off your high horse and make better glass. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Just worry about what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Help out those around you and just keep pushing yourself forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of cool, man, because like the inside-out pattern, like the actual technique, you have like the flare of the glass tube and lay your lines on the inside, and then you have like cut and flip where you actually cut like a vertical line down the tube, and then you cut a kind of a parallel line to that, and then you peel it open, and then you can lay color in that way. Like it's almost creating like a door into the tube in a sense, so you actually can get in there and lay it down. Mm-hmm. Or you can like lay all your patterns on the outside, and then you blow a ball out, and then you do a reverse flare in a sense, almost like a disc flip kind of pattern. So then your color goes from the outside to the inside. Then you can insert that into a head of a spoon or reshape it into a tube if you want. Like, there's a lot of different ways of going about it.
Well, absolutely, and I think that comes from that secretive history we were just kind of talking about as well. Especially with how back in the 90s, especially like early 2000s, internet prevalence wasn't that hardcore yet. I mean, you had like pipes.org just starting, but no one was telling anyone how to do it. So all you had were finished projects and then people trying to backtrack or like trying to make their own type of result or similar result using a completely different method. And I think, a few of those methods have stuck over time, and I think a few of them have kind of been like lost and like not used anymore just because there are better ways of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's fun too because like I know like I was seeing these bigger pieces out there that were like 5 and 6 inch spoons, and I'm like, how in the hell are they getting this color all the way from start to finish, from the head of the pipe to the mouthpiece? And so we started experimenting, and there's a technique that I call double flare, where basically you have your blowpipe on it and with a tube on there, and you flare out one end, and you decorate just half of that tube on the inside. And then you keep it hot, you close down the opening, attach a blowpipe on that side, and then you remove the other blowpipe you originally had on there, and you flare that end open, and now you decorate the second half of the pipe. And if you think about like in terms of like the timing of it, the original opening that you first had was where your mouthpiece now will be, and then the first area where the blowpipe was attached to now becomes the head or the face of the pipe or whatever you're making. So you can do these nicer, big, thick, because like when I first started doing inside outs, we were using standard wall. And like 50 millimeter standard wall. It had like maybe like a 2 mil wall on it, and I was using like 6-inch sections of this shit, and it was like roasting my heart as I was using it because it was so fucking hot and big. But it made, by using the medium wall or the thin wall, it really constricted down quickly, which really encased that color and made some amazing color changing properties, and just the looks of the 3-dimensional pattern inside of the wall of the glass. So it was kind of fun, but that's another long-winded way of doing it.
I know, and like there's different tips and tricks out there as well. Big one is if you're writing words, don't waste your time writing forward. Get a mirror, write it backwards. Anything you put in like on the inside of the glass is going to appear reversed on the outside, so you need to take that into account. Write it backwards.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always write on paper or on your bench. And it's kind of fun too is like kind of going on the newer trends and the hype colors with the Illuminatis and stuff. I'm seeing a lot of guys now doing inside outs that are all Illuminati, and
you can't even see it.
Yeah, it looks completely clear, and then all of a sudden it's like you put your black light on that thing, and it's amazing. And it reminds me too when I first started doing this, one of the guys that taught me my basic foundations, he used to sell pipes to a guy that had a club, and he would trade stuff for these pipes, and because they were being sold at the club, they had black lights and stuff. So we used to write like "fuck you" or "dickhead" or all kind of like stupid little things inside the pipe that you couldn't really see. You would just assume it was the part of the pattern, and then you get into the club and the pipe's telling you to go fuck yourself or something. It was kind of a fun little thing we'd do in there. So it's,
was that using like uranium glass?
Yeah, that was back when it was.
That stuff's hard to work with. Like, it has a 39 COE, so like to get that to match with the 33 and like get it to not reject, that takes some skill. You have to do like the 2 layers of clear coat on the outside and the inside. That's tough. Otherwise, it just peels right off.
Yeah, what we were doing, we'd actually take the uranium and encase it over like some 16 mil rod, or even like some 1-inch rod, and then put a sleeve of tubing over that, and then heat the shit out of it, and then stretch it across the studio and get like 20 feet of cane out of it.
Oh, that's a smart way of going about it. I like that. It's the same idea. You just need to make sure you have it completely surrounded by clear before putting it into anything. Otherwise, it'll peel away.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It won't implode like IO. Like if you were just to take uranium and try to implode it into that glass wall, it wouldn't implode at all.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. That's because it was used for tungsten seals back in the day. That's a different story, though. We should digress.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So it's kind of interesting too. Going back to the evolution of the glass. It's like. The import started coming in, and they were these cheap, thin wrap and rig spoons and the kind of garbage, and then it started to get a little nicer and a little nicer, and some of it was being called American-made when really it wasn't, even though they may have been using American quality color or product line over in India and China and then importing it. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's actually cheaper to have it made in India with American colors and then ship it back to the States.
I mean, still companies are still doing that. Yeah. Grav Labs, what was it, 2 years ago, the company Grav Labs started their own studio out in China making their pieces and parts, and now they're just shipped in all the glasses made in China under American supervision, but it's, what did they say? It's assembled in America. So the pieces are made there, but then it's all like assembled and all the welds are done here.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you still got to be careful in this industry. Like there's still plenty of people like trying to hand you shit, calling it diamonds,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so then, once the inside out started becoming prevalent in the industry, and we were getting good money for the items because of the value of what the shops understood of what timing went into it. But then all of a sudden you started having inside outs being imported, and that was like the next wave of pipes coming in, which really fucked everybody up. And then all of a sudden we started seeing like Jason Lee and Marcel and those cats and Scott Deppy doing their stuff, out in Humboldt and what have you, which really then sparked this whole new evolution in the industry. And then all of a sudden Operation Pipe Dreams happened, which then shut everybody down, and kind of like we all had to like backtrack. And I think it's kind of at that point slowed down the evolution process, in the glass. But the import stuff was still coming in, so we still had this influx of like quote unquote American-made inside outs that were being imported from India and China. So it's interesting.
The history and the timing of a lot of things, especially in the glass industry, like the more I come back to it, the more I think about it, there's more this cadence of something becoming really popular and very easy in the beginning, and then it's the imports catch wind, copy it, and then it pushes the medium to something else. And and that's still happening today. That is a process that hasn't stopped. And the inside out was a big move. Like if it wasn't for this inside out medium being really taken over by imports and really hard for glass, making it harder for glass blowers to sell. Not saying that they couldn't, but harder for sure, is what pushed other glass blowers to go into their studios and buckle down and try other new things or try something different. I mean, that's where our line work comes from. If it wasn't for inside out being pushed away, like, I don't know if line work and some of this other stuff would be as prevalent as it is today.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and like it comes down to that. I think some of the weird things that have come out of inside out work was like the introduction of in like the late 90s, this idea of double blown glass just because it was thicker than wrap and rake. And like that's where that terminology is, like, as far as I can tell, that's where it come from, is that it was at some point some glass blowers in the festival scene were just suddenly like, yeah, check out this thin import they bought for a couple bucks down the road, and check out what I just made. This is double blown. I blew it 2 times, whatever that means. I flared it open. I used clear glass, and I used colored glass a second time on the inside. But it started to equate that like terminology to functionality, to thickness. Like inside out meant it had to have been a thick pipe.
Yeah.
Or double blown, like if it looked like this, it was double blown.
Yeah, exactly. And all it was referring was just to how thick the glass is and based on the tubing that you use and everything else. Yeah, it's kind of funny. And again, hopefully we can eradicate that fucking term.
Yeah, if you're listening out there, stop talking in terms of double blown. Refer to your glass in millimeter thicknesses. It's a lot more technical. It makes you look smarter, and it makes your glass look better. Unless you're using thin glass, then stop that shit.
Or just make it more constricted so it's thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can take a 6-inch piece of tubing and make a 3-inch pipe out of it. It can be done. Absolutely. So yeah, so all you out there that also that kind of I guess ignorant, for lack of a better term, to how this process is done. There's definitely, like I was saying earlier, there's definitely different ways of going about it. But your traditional standard way of doing inside out work is basically you have a tube of glass, preferably something a little open diameter wise, like 32 or 44 millimeter opening, and the diameter refers to the outside diameter of the tube. So you basically, if you have a 44 millimeter tubing, the outside diameter is 44 millimeters, and then you have a wall thickness, so the inside diameter is smaller than the outside, obviously because of that.
By 2 or 3, and sometimes 4.
Yeah, depending on what you're getting. Yeah, for sure. And I know some guys prefer medium wall over heavy wall for inside outs. It makes it a little bit faster to do the constriction process. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing. But basically, the idea is that you have a small section of tubing on a blowpipe. Your blowpipe is plugged up at the very bottom, or it can also be sealed off if you haven't opened it yet. And then you take preferably half of the tube, the top half of the tube, and you open it up and you flare it out. So now you have like a tube with a flared out top to it. And this gives you access to inside the tube. Also, because your end is plugged up, you're creating a vacuum inside the tube. So a lot of times you can't even get... Bless you.
Thank you.
So a lot of times you can't even get your flame all the way down inside the tube to heat your glass to then lay it down into the glass, and also to be able to heat it up to get it to stick to the inside of the wall, because glass will not stick to itself unless both surfaces are the same temperature in a sense. I know a lot of times where what I call the tack point, where I initially start the process of laying down my color, a lot of times that area will cool off faster than the rest of the piece because, again, it's at the very bottom of the tube where it starts to constrict down to where your blowpipe is, and that area a lot of times doesn't get hot or heated up as much as the rest of the piece does. So a lot of times you go to melt that in at the very beginning and it cracks. You know, it's an easy fix, whatever, not a big deal. But again, the idea is basically just like pointing your torch and your flame down inside the tube so that it's heating up the color as you're laying it down, and whatever wig-wag, ziggle, zag, dot patterns, whatever you want to do. A lot of production line stuff, it's like, a couple zigzags and a couple dots. But the nice thing about the inside outs is with the area that you flared at the opening of the tubing gives you now a space to do pattern work for like the face or the head of the pipe. So you can kind of segment your pipes into, say, like 2/3 of it's the body, and then the top third's the face or the head of the pipe. And then you can do a lot of cool like filicello patterns or some kind of dot patterns or honeycombs or kind of whatever you want to do. You can write words and names. It makes it easier to get in there and really do some cool, fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I think you called it like chaos before, and like a chaotic style. Like a lot of inside out work, you do see a lot of that chaotic line work where it's very random and it's almost like a puzzle where it all fits together. You just kind of fill in space. While I think what you point out there is that with the window work, there really is a lot you can do with Inside Out that a lot of artists may not have gone towards just because of the line work techniques, but they're out there. Like you can do filicellos, you can do like crazy, you could draw a picture, you can write, like I said, you can write words earlier, but there are a lot of different things you can do in that cab.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And like with the chaos kind of idea, a lot of times when I pull my stringers out to do my line work, a lot of it I just let randomly just lay down as it's getting heated, because a lot of times it's so thin, it's hard to control it. So I just kind of like let the glass just kind of lay down how it lays down, and then you go back and just fill in the gaps with dots or whatever you want to use. But also for the color changing property for Inside Out, which is really nice too, you got to work backwards. A lot of times with color changing glass, you start off with if it's on the surface, you start off with a layer of silver, so that way your gold has something to stick to. But for the Inside Out process, if you put the silver down first, that's all you're going to see. And a lot of times when you do a silver fume, if it's not done properly, it's almost too heavy, so you really can't see anything past it. So you have to lay your gold down first. You can do like the slightest little basic generic kind of light film of silver, but generally you put your gold down first. And for color changer spoons, the color changing property basically refers to gold and silver being used as a metal in the glass that's been encased in clear, and then as the pipe is being used, the resin that's backing the inside wall of the piece basically creates a dark background that brings the color out. So for Inside Out, it's the same kind of technique, but it's from the your color patterns on the inside. So you get you basically lay your gold and silver down first. You lay down a bunch of clear patterns and clear stringers, and then you can fume it again. You can do different layers. You can do like a silver layer and then some clear, and then a layer of gold and then some clear, or just kind of build it out to where you have like these infinite amount of layers of different patterns, so that every line that you're laying down can have a different color changing property to it. And even going from like the mouthpiece to the head of the spoon too. So like if you have a head of the spoon, you can do a really heavy gold fume down first, do a bunch of clear dots, and then you silver fume behind that. And so now you have these really pretty gold dots, and then the back of the gold dot will then change to this blue hue, which then brings out these purples and oranges and greens, and it's really neat. So it's just kind of an experimentation process of working with different metals. It also depends too on the kind of gold you're using, whether you're using 24 or 22 karat gold. I prefer 22 myself because it has the one little different element of metal in it that will then initially give you a different fuming process, because that little bit of that extra metal burns out first. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been told that before. The different carats of the gold will make a difference with the coloring that it produces as well. Yeah. Is that the same for silver?
Yeah, I think so. Like with the silver I use is 99.9 fine.
Okay.
So like that 0.1 was 0.1, where the hell it is, it's
whatever that impurity is, just changes that color very differently.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I didn't realize it was so layered that you could do so many different things with the different layers. But yeah, that leaves such infinite possibilities realistically. And it was really pushed in that chaotic style. I really think there's still a lot of space in Inside Out work that could be explored, that more geometric and more fine line detail, if like a more controlled form. And I'm excited to see what comes out of it, and to see if people actually will take up this older style and keep pushing it forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think that to go to the process, really the trick to make it look proper is when you close up the tube at the very opening, at the flare. You got to close that up, attach a punchy to it, heat the whole thing up, and then you start to shape it out. But really, the process of getting a nice, even, thick constriction heat base so that the glass shrinks down, and then that clear encases that color on the inside. So that way, if you were to do like a cross-section cut on the pipe to open it up to look on the inside wall has to be completely smooth all the way through. If you have any deviations or any kind of marks where it wasn't blended in, you can potentially have cracking issues down the road.
Oh yeah, because anytime glass isn't smooth or flush, or it does at a very radical angle, generally, unless it's been worked in a certain way, you're going to have rejection rates.
Yeah, exactly. But the fun, again, part about the Inside Out is you can do that constriction, and then you can blow it back out into a bigger diameter tube, and then open it back up, and then layer a whole another layer of color in there. So you can have multiple layers of different patterns, kind of working with it. It's a lot of fucking work, don't get me wrong, but when it comes down to it, you can have some really cool, intricate, fun stuff that, again, takes a lot of time, but in the end, it's worth what you're getting out of it, if that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So, yeah, man, other than that, I don't know what else we want to talk about the inside outs.
I think honestly, like at this point in like time, like we've talked, I don't know, I think we're approaching our 27-minute mark. We've covered the topic pretty well. I think if there are any questions out there in the audience and whatnot, they can definitely feel free to message any of us or like add your own input. We're down to hear what you think. Is the inside out actually dead? Is it not? Are glass blowers? Are you out there still doing it? Are you not doing it? Are people skipping over it these days? Are they going? Is it part of the learning progression still?
Mm-hmm.
These are a lot of different questions. I'd love to hear what people have to say about it.
Yeah, me too. And just kind of one more thing. I will say that in terms of technique, it is probably one of the most dangerous techniques that you cannot be distracted when you're doing it. And I will say that I have had my worst injuries doing inside-out spoons. Basically, one night working late in the studio, I should have been in bed instead of at the shop working, this injury was why I don't do that anymore. And was laying down my color, and my hose, I don't remember if it was my hose that was in my way or something, but I had managed to hit my hose, which then bumped my torch a little bit. And when it bumped my torch, I don't know what the hell I was doing, but somehow I just went just below the flame with my tube, and that flame shot across the outside surface of my tubing and went completely across the tips of my fingers on my left hand that was holding that blowpipe. And yeah, so like imagine like, your first knuckle underneath your nail bed, and I fried like all four of my fingers basically.
Ugh.
And my middle finger being the one that was exposed the most is what got the most damage. And I actually did like I documented the healing process because I experimented with different home remedy kits basically. But yeah,
that's so you. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it's definitely a safety issue. So make sure when you're doing inside outs that you're focused on what you're doing. You're watching your flame and making sure that your flame stays inside the tube itself and doesn't go anywhere outside the edge of it, because it will bite you and it does not feel good. It's like putting a hot dog in a microwave.
On that note as well, if you're listening and you're taking that into account, let's also just say, let's be safe anytime you're around a torch. It is thousands of degrees of fire. You should always be focused on the thing. Like if you're on a torch, blow glass. If you want to talk, turn it off.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Absolutely. Hell yeah, man. Well, it's been a fun discussion. And again, we will be doing this weekly. On every Friday, we'll be posting something new based on the updates on the Glass Knowledge page on Instagram. And again, if you guys have any questions at all, you can feel free to contact me at info@wiseguyradio.com. That's WYZGUY radio.com. You can contact Shane at Glass Knowledge or direct message either one of us through Instagram. We also have our Facebook pages, which is mine as a Wise Guy Radio. Do you have a Facebook page for the Glass Knowledge yet?
Don't have a Facebook page for it, but you can kick me at all copper everything.
There you guys go. And also his Instagram personal page is Infinite Glass Alchem. Was it
Infinite Alchemics?
There you go, Alchemics.
Is the word infinite and then alchemics, which is like alchemy, but it's just the form of it. Alchemics.
Hell yeah.
Infinite Alchemics.
Right on, man. Well, again, it's always a pleasure, Shane.
Thank you for having me on, as always. It's always a blast to get a chance to sit down and talk.
Yeah. And what's our next topic going to be? Do you know?
I don't know. What do you think? Any ideas off the top of your head?
Yeah, I think we should do dichroic. We should cover
dichroic. Oh yeah, let's get dichroic in here.
Yeah, for me, the dichroic glass is one of those techniques and glass usage that I don't really see as much anymore. Like it was pretty prevalent for a while, and it's still used as an accent, but you rarely see the fully worked dichroic pieces anymore. And I don't know if it's an expense thing or if it's just the trends or you can't see Illuminati through it or something.
I think, honestly, it's just one of those trended things. It might also be the price of it compared to other colors. A lot of people are all about that hype glass. And, like, things like different... I think, honestly, like, the baller dichro pieces have kind of gone the southern side of everything because we have this new thing that kind of looks like dichro, but it's a little bit cooler and more hype, which is called the crushed opal.
Yep.
And so I think the headier artists are starting to lean away from this dichroic color as much as they're trying to make their own crushed opal. Now, yesterday, I had a glass blower, a local buddy over at my house who is just chilling and stuff, and he pulled out a piece of tubing where he actually made crushed opal over dichro, and it looks awesome. So hopefully we'll see a resurgence of it soon.
Hell yeah, dude. I can't wait to talk about that for sure, because it is not an easy medium to use.
No, I've heard that as well.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Right.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of the Glass Knowledge on the Wise Guy Radio Show, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.